My name is Gina, and today I'm going to tell you how a leprechaun was found in a well.
My name is Darren, and I'm going to tell you about an unexpected Gaelic health food.
My name is Adri, and I'm going to teach you about a hurl, a slitter, and a demigod.
What do all of these things have to do with Ireland? Find out in this week's episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to this week's holiday edition of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. I want to welcome from the home office our host, Chris.
Hello, and top of the morning to you if you're somewhere where it's morning, and top of the evening to you for us here in the East Coast of the United States. Hello, and welcome to another episode of History Bluffs. We are so glad that you have decided to join us. And without further ado, let's get to meeting our three historians. So our first historian is a friend of ours named Gina. Gina, why don't you come to the center screen here?
I shall. That was such a fun trip. Okay.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Oh, go ahead, please. Yes.
No. Go ahead. Go.
I was saying I'm doing a story about leprechauns. I've got my Guinness right here. Shall crack it open. It's going to explode.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
That means that
It's warm, just like they drink it over there. So
yeah, good.
Celebrating and getting my house messy.
Good. That's part of the process. Have you ever been over to Ireland?
Ooh, no, I have not. I've flown over it.
Okay. Where'd you go? Where'd you fly over to? Where'd you?
I went to Edinburgh. With Darren, in fact. Darren Humphrey.
All
We
right.
had a trip overseas. It was fantastically fun. We went to the Fringe Festival, and we met a guy named Murray who got really drunk, and then he said he had to go to work. And then we asked, he drove a train. We said, "Where do you work?" And he goes, "Oh, right down there." And he pointed to the train station. He drove the subway or Lou or whatever they call it there.
Oh my God.
Well, all right. Good luck to whoever was on the train that Murray was driving at that time. But welcome, Gina. We're glad to have you here. And speaking of Darren, let's bring Darren up. Darren is our armchair historian number 2. Hello, Darren.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great.
And you have been over to Ireland, correct?
I have. Everything I'm wearing is from Ireland.
Very nice. All right. Where have you been? Pretty much all over?
Oh, Dublin, Kilkenny, the Rock of Cashel.
Nice.
That's about it.
If you had one spot in Ireland, what was your favorite spot to visit in Ireland?
Well, in the town of Cashel, there is a hotel, and in the sort of basement of the hotel, there's a bar where they claim that Guinness was invented, and there's a little like shamrock in the floor right there, and a little sign. And if you go there, they'll tell you the story of how they thought up Guinness.
Wow.
Or
cool.
you can almost set their bar on fire. That's also an option.
Yeah, that's also true.
You have to pay extra for that, though, apparently. Yes. And let's bring up Adri, armchair historian number 3. Welcome, Darren, and we are welcoming Adri to the center. Hello, Adri.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming back to the show. Have you ever been to Ireland?
I have. Yes, I have.
You have. Where on the island have you been?
From basically Dublin over to the other side where the Cliffs of Moher is located, and then down to Dingle, and then all the way back to Dublin.
Lovely.
I drove.
Awesome.
I did it myself.
Ooh,
Wow. I've driven that route as well, and it's a little challenging. Some of the roads over there are not as wide as we have over here, and it takes a little while to see around some of those trees because they have a lot of overgrown trees onto the roadways, more so in small towns than we have here.
I got all the insurance. They said, "You want insurance?" I said, "Yes, all of it."
Good call. Good
call indeed.
I hit everything over there.
Hopefully, you didn't need any of it. Hopefully.
Who knows?
All right, we'll save that for a different show when you are not on camera and they can't prove it was you admitting to whatever you needed the insurance for. So with that, Darren, Adri, and Gina are our 3 armchair historians, and as we do every week, we are going to have them regale us with these tales of being inspired by Ireland And two of them are going to be telling true stories. One of them will be the bluff, hence the name History Bluffs. And Adam, if you don't mind, sir, would you put up the rules of the show?
Oh,
Please
I
put up
will.
that
I want
card.
to point out we have interactive audience engagement from the YouTubes happening. We
Hi,
have,
interactive audience.
Hello,
we've
indeed,
got some
interactive
And-
waves coming in.
Hi to those of you who got engaged.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's true. Oh yeah, so you
Good
wanted some
vibes.
rules, Chris. I think I heard you
Yes.
say. Oh,
Yes,
well, let's do
please.
some rules. It's a game show after all. So here's some rules, Chris. Let them know.
All right. So, as I mentioned, the historians are inspired by the topic. This week's topic is Ireland. Two of our three historians are going to be telling factual stories, true stories. And the third, one of them, I don't even know which one of them is bluffing. It may be a factual based story. There may be a couple of true nuggets in their story, but the entire premise, the overall premise of their story is going to be a bluff. And it is up to us, myself, the other armchair historians, and you, the audience, to determine which one of our three armchair historians are telling the bluff for this week. And we ask that no audience help be involved, meaning that we all are sitting in front of computers or have a computer in our pocket, our cell phones. Please don't Google any of the facts or statements that our folks are saying during the show. Yes, yeah, I know that's a tempting thing to do.
They hate that.
They hate that indeed. It's a tempting thing to do to fact check. We need more fact checking in the world in 2023, especially here in America. That notwithstanding, we don't want it on this show until the third round. And I say third round because we have 3 rounds. This is how this show works. There's 3 rounds, and our historians are going to tell their stories broken into 3 sections. The first section is going to be 75 seconds. They will open up their story, tell us the premise of their story, and give us the intro. And then we'll go to all 3 of them. And then we'll go to round number 2, where we're going to reduce the amount of time down to 60 seconds. And they're going to tell us round 2 of their story in 60 seconds. And then the third and final round, we reduce time even more down to 45 seconds. And that is where they will wrap up their story. And at the end of round 3, myself, the historians, and the audience, we will all make our guesses as to which one of these 3 fine people are actually bluffing tonight as the historian, the bluff for this week. And they're already pointing fingers. They're already pointing fingers at each other, so this is going to be a good show. I can feel it.
Hey, Chris, to help keep track of the rounds, you want me to throw up the old piece of technology?
Yes, indeed. Let's put up the round tracker 66,000.
Oh, there she be. For those visual watchers, now our audio listeners are out of luck. This is why you need to tune into the show visually, because boy, that's a lot of our budget right there.
It is indeed. So basically, for those of you not watching but listening on the audio podcast, there are the round tracker 66,000 is right above my head, and I have a pretty sizable head, and it's even bigger than my head on the screen. And it tells us each of the people in each person's round if they've already gone on to round 1, 2, or 3. That's how the round tracker 66,000 works. And some of you may be at home saying, well, what happened to the round tracker 9,000? We've upgraded, folks. We've upgraded multiple times.
Old news.
That's like 2 weeks ago's technology. So without further ado,
55,000 times or 50,000. I don't know, something like a lot.
We've done a lot of shows.
50,
Don't do the math.
Yes, we're up there.
Not this
That's
bad.
right. Just drink your Guinness and we'll be good. So with that being said, Adam, how about we start round number 1?
Let's do it. No. Let's do it again.
Oh,
That's how we do it. You know what? I think next week we're going to have to upgrade to the 67,000.
they're still working. We got this one too quick. We took it out of the box too quick. There's still some bugs in it. We'll get some Raid sprayed in there, get rid of the bugs. And all right. So we are going to go in the order that I see them. And Gina, I'm going to have you start.
Okay.
So please, when you're going to come on screen, you're going to see the sundial come up. When you hear the boom, you have 75 seconds to tell us your first round of the story. And we'll have the round tracker 66,000 going live when you hear this momentarily.
Okay, and please pardon me for those listening and watching because I'm in a cramped little room because Adam's got the big desk tonight for me. So everything is spread all over. Okay, so I don't know if you all remember baby Jessica from back in the 80s, but she was trapped in a well. And the good thing for her was that she was pulled out of the well and saved. However, in 1996, there was a group of hikers that were going to climb up the Errigal Mountain in Ireland. And at the base of each mountain in Ireland, back in the day, a lot of people used to live up in the mountains. So they would put this big well of water that they would draw from the ground or the springs, and they would jimmy rig these things to kind of pull up buckets so that people would have those at the top of the hills. So at the base of each hill or each big mountain, there and a lot of the trails, there will be these wells in Ireland. And one day, some hikers were hiking in there, and they looked down and they saw something gleaming from the bottom, or I don't know from where, but anyway, so they kind of like started looking in, and they pulled some things out, and they started to discover that there were some green things in there, and actually little pieces of gold, not like coins, but little like chunks and things like that. So they were like, is this real gold? And so on. And so they continued to watch. And then I will tell you more of the story to tell you what they found.
All right. Well done, Gina. So let's bring Adri. All right, Adri, I'm going to come to you in a second. I heard an audible doubt come from Darren, so I'm going to immediately go to Darren, and let's get that while it's fresh on your tongue. Darren, what do you think?
No, I was just upset that you said well done.
That really
did you really
pull that out of his butt?
All right. Well,
but since you're talking to me, there's holes in Ireland. They're full of water and green things. I mean, it sounds plausible so far.
So far plausible. And just for the record, there's plenty more where that bad pun came from. So you just wait, my friend. Adri, what do you think of Gina's story so far? She mentioned Baby Jessica. Do you from the 80s? I don't know if you remember that, but I remember Baby Jessica. Yeah.
I don't. I know I've heard this story, but I don't remember when it happened per se. But with the rest of her story, I'm hooked. I'm in it. I'm a little nervous. You got me scared. Good storytelling there. I'm excited. Let's see where it goes.
All right. And I know some people heard her say Jimmy Rig, and many people might say, well, isn't it Jerry Rig? No, it's Jimmy Rig in Ireland. It's Jimmy Rig, just for the
transatlantic translations. Yeah,
correct. That's correct. So let's tell you what, Adri, why don't we have you stay here, and the rest of us will go into the small little boxes, and we're going to have you start your first round of the story. When you see the sundial and you hear the gong, you have the floor.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to start my story kind of towards the middle, beginning-ish. There's an old mythology that has to do with hurling, which is the sport played in Ireland. And the mythology starts when a demigod named Coco Lane was a child. So basically, the story begins when a blacksmith named Cúlainn invited the king of Oyster, McNassa, over to his home for a feast. Cúlainn asked McNassa to not bring anybody with him, and McNassa was like, okay. On the way to Cúlainn's place, McNassa saw this little kid playing with a stick and a ball, and he was super strong, super powerful, and he was really intrigued. So he invited the kid over for dinner, even though Cúlainn said don't invite anybody over. He did anyways, and the boy was like, well, hey, can I finish playing my game of hurling? And he's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, come afterwards. So McNassa shows up at Cúlainn's, and Cúlainn's like, hey, you don't have anybody coming over, right? And he's like, no, because he forgot about the kid. And he puts his dog outside. His dog is like a protective beast. So he puts him outside to protect the home. And then Cúlainn shows up, and I will finish the story during the second and third pieces.
Very well. Very nicely done. Good. Okay. Let's start here with Darren, what do you think in the opening round with McNassa?
Is this going to be the origin of the pit bull? It's like, did he come home and they dug a hole and the dog was in a hole and they called it a pit bull? I don't know. There's a lot of names dropped there, and then nothing much really happened. So I'm not sure what to think yet.
There was a lot. Okay. There was a lot of names thrown in there. A lot
of names thrown in there. Coco Lane, Cúlainn, and McNassa. Gina, what do you think? A lot of rappers indeed.
Well,
the Irish astronaut rapper McNassa.
Oh, that's good. Killing
Gina, what do you got?
killing me.
Totally. All I could when she said the guy's name was that when the people arrived at his house, they were like, "Hey, Kool-Aid."
And I want to see him come through the door, right?
I like he busted
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then she also
No.
then she also said that hurling was played in Ireland a lot, and for me, it was played in college a lot after a keggers. That was just me. I mean, it was a really fun game. People held your hair. It was
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well. Speaking of hurling, we're going to bring Darren to the stage.
Darn, I'm better now.
Darren, we're going to have you open up your story with your first round. When the sundial comes up and you hear the gong, you have the floor, my friend.
There's no place quite like Ireland, where the second most popular health food is the potato. And what's the most popular health food? Beer, of course. And not that thin, watery stuff that Americans drink to tolerate watching baseball, but real beer. I'm talking about the dark, syrupy stuff they've been making at St. James Gate in Dublin since before Americans started chucking tea into the harbor. None other than Guinness, the world's most popular stout beer.
That's my favorite.
It was first sold in 1759, and just 10 years later, the first Guinness export was born when 6.5 barrels were shipped across the Irish Channel to England. It took almost 50 more years for Guinness to make its way to the American shores when 8 barrels landed in Boston in 1817. Sales kept booming, and over the decades and then centuries, Guinness spread all over the world. And it seemed like that nothing could stop Guinness, not even when over 100 Guinness employees went to war in 1914 and didn't return home. But in 1932, in the midst of the Great Depression, the boom would finally end, and that's when Guinness tried out something new.
Ooh. Good timing there. Finished right at the buzzer. It's almost like he had planned that out. Adrian, what do you think of that interesting opening round from Darren about the beginnings of the Guinness empire?
Well, I've been to the Guinness factory, so I'm fact checking him as I go. Unfortunately, I've been to the Guinness factory and drank too much, so I don't remember anything. But
Did you hurl?
probably. I did reference my beer says established 1759, so some of that is true, I guess.
Interesting.
I don't
Yeah,
have a
you
beer.
could all check with your Guinness.
Oh, let me check.
This is not
Hold
a
on.
twist off. It's a real beer.
I have to open it to check.
Our legendary Guinness Draft Stout in a collectible can celebrating the famed Guinness campaigns of the 1930s and 50s. So that's your story's already wrong.
Oh, wait till you hear more.
All right. Well, Gina,
Wait
the
a
more you
second.
drink and you look back that label, those dates may change. So
Yes, exactly. Back to math. Math is always that.
Matt is flexible. What do you think of Darren's opening round, Gina?
Ooh, he left it very vague and very he cleverly and carefully made it so that it's unpickable. So I don't have too much on him just yet, except for that is a really loud coat. That's all.
Well, all right, I'll give you that, but I will defend him. I think I actually like that coach. So, but I do like that I do like that Darren started off with reasonable amounts. 5 barrels, 8 barrels here and there, just to start, see how things go. I think he's doing that possibly to test to see if we believe his story. Good tactic there. So as I look above my big wide head and I see the round tracker 66,000, round one is all filled up.
It worked.
Round one is filled up. Darren, that means that Adri, Darren, and Gina and I are all going to go, Adam, to round number 2.
It happened. I kicked it into shape.
It did happen. It did happen indeed.
I did pour a Guinness. I blame the Guinness. I thank the Guinness.
This is where things get a little more interesting because we're going to start reducing the amount of time. So from 75 seconds, now the rounds are shortened to 60 seconds. So we start off with Gina in round number 1. I'm going to go to Adri to start off round number 2. So Adri, you last left us with Coco Lane, Coolane, and McNassa. What's going on with those crazy folks?
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay. So I forgot to mention the young kid's name was Satanta. So Satanta shows up at Kool-Aid's house, and the dog basically attacks him, and he has nothing else to defend himself except to take his hurl and his stick and whack it, which if you ever watch the game of hurling, that's exactly what they do. The ball basically goes into the dog's head and kills the dog. And Kool-Aid and McNassa come out. They're like, oh my gosh, what happened? McNassa was super impressed with Satanta's strength. And Kool-Aid was devastated because his dog died. So Satanta said, hey, I volunteer to stay here and protect your land while you raise a new dog to take the dog that I killed's place. And that's how he became Kool-Aid, because Koo means means Kool-Aid's hound is Kool-Aid. So Kool-Aid is Kool-Aid's hound. So that's the story of how Kool-Aid became a demigod, and he's all through Irish mythology. It's a serious thing, guys.
Okay. Serious thing, guys, she says, laughing through laughs. She says, serious thing, guys.
Serious business.
Serious
All
business.
right. Gina is still laughing. So, Gina, what was your, she threw out the apparent love child of Satan and Santa, Satanta.
Satanta. Yes.
Satanta. What do you think about Adri's second round?
So Kool-Aid, like that's awesome. Because here's my thing: is like I'm thinking. This is what I think. I think that she is just sort of juxtaposing the story of Cujo with this story of Kool-Aid, and like making some crap up that we would never know because hi, we're not Irish, and so. I don't know. I really, and as much as she was laughing, I just feel like that's a tell. She's giggling at her own story, which means she made it funny on purpose. So
Chris, Gina's
delightful.
comments kind of match with our audience as well. So
Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
Laura
Exactly,
says,
Laura.
"I love these
Exactly.
names. I love these names." Laura says, "I love these names. All I hear is Kool-Aid." Absolutely.
I know. It's like, or are
Darren,
you? I'm sorry. Tom says that he's learning something, but you
yeah,
are. Two of us.
exactly. Well, yeah,
that's true.
and maybe all three. Darren, what'd you think?
Well, it sounds like these confusions with names took place after dinner and maybe a lot of drinks, and the name Kool-Aid became, hey, Kool-Aid, and that's how it sort of metamorphosed. Just a little bit too much Guinness, or maybe some Jameson.
It's
don't
adult
know.
Kool-Aid.
That's why it's
Yeah.
only a demigod. Yeah,
right.
didn't
They
see
had
it
little
one.
glasses of
That's
Yeah.
right. Small
demigods.
amount.
I'm
All
getting a
right.
kick,
Well,
Chris. Hey, Chris,
yeah.
I'm getting a kick out of Tom's use of punctuation. I'm learning.
Exactly. I'm learning
Period.
Something.
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 Yeah.
Something.
It's
Yeah,
something, all right.
Yeah,
Something,
and
all right.
still to be determined, Gina, still to be determined if he's learning something from all of us or about all of us, I think.
It's
Yes.
That is the question for later on. But so we're going to go to Darren. And Darren, we're going to have you do your second round portion of your story here, please. With the gong and sundial coming up, you'll have the floor.
So in 1932, with sales flagging, Guinness turned to the S.H. Benson Company to create an ad campaign to turn things around. They put their top man, an artist named John Gilroy, on the job, and he set to work illustrating a bunch of different animals all drinking Guinness beer. The most popular of these illustrations was the toucan, which quickly became the company mascot. So Gilroy ended up creating lots of posters of the bird, like flying over the Statue of Liberty, Buckingham Palace, whatever, and it was really popular. But a funny smiling bird with a big orange bill wasn't enough to turn sales around, so they turned to a popular crime writer named Dorothy Sayers to write a slogan to go around with the toucan. And she wrote just 5 words that would change advertising history. Guinness is good for you. And with that, sales rebounded, and Guinness was once again flying off the wall.
Wow. Guinness is good for you. That's all it took. Okay.
That's right.
Nice. Well, Gina, what do you think of Darren's story on John Gilroy and I didn't catch the lady's name, but the famous crime writer?
Oh, I know her name. Her name was Dorothy Sayers because
Dorothy
she makes
Sayers.
up slogans. She says things.
She
That's
shares
convenient.
things.
Very convenient. Also, I was looking as he was talking. I was looking at my Guinness, and it's a teddy bear, not a toucan. And
But it's in a can. If you have another one, you have 2 cans.
that's very good. My
Oh.
light. See, the gods of the lights like that one.
Gotta wear out my
There you
snare
go.
drum here.
Adri, what do you think of Toucan and Dorothy Sayers and John Gilroy?
Well, I'm 50-50 right now because a toucan seems like the most ridiculous mascot they could have chosen. For like a toucan doesn't live anywhere near Ireland. How the two would come together is beyond me. But
Over a Guinness.
Guinness is good for you. I believe in wholeheartedly. So, yeah. So I'm 50-50 on
Okay.
it right now. I'm not ready to,
All right.
to make a final decision yet.
Possibly. All right. So, Gina, we need to hear your second round. So please come to the center spot. And when you hear the boom and you see the sundial, you have the floor for your round 2 down to 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Excellent. So at some point, that well was excavated. The people that had hiked, they reported it, but they didn't really do much more. And so when they excavated the well, they found human bones, real human bones in there. And they also found the little shoes that you see on leprechauns and things like that, like a whole outfit. And it had been decomposed. But everybody in Ireland thought, oh, maybe this is a prank because this was in the 90s. No, maybe. See? They thought it was a prank. And so what they did was they had someone analyze the bones because like Baby Jessica came in the 80s, CSI came in the 90s, and they had that technology. So they took that stuff back, and they actually realized that the bones dated from the 16th century. So that was the 1500s. And they weren't able to get much more information on it. Now, the clothes, they were able to find out that they were a hoax, that was not real. But those clothes dated back then. And what was soon discovered was that there used to be a cobbler's house on that hill, and I'll tell you more about that, and we'll find out what happens with those bones.
Darren, let's get your comments. What do you think? Is she going to say that the cobblers lived in a house?
I'm picturing like a cobbler who just gets angry when somebody like doesn't pay for their shoes and he just throws them down the well. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I would do it if I made shoes for you and you didn't pay me. I'd throw you down a well. I'd do it right now.
See?
Adri, what do you think? Are we going to get to the bottom of Gina's story at the well?
Come on.
I am
Throw you down a well.
concerned about ever throwing anything into a well again, just not knowing what's going to be down there. You know, you put a little penny for good luck. I don't know anymore. I'm
concerned about drinking from it.
drinking from.
Oh yeah.
How many dead people are down there?
Yeah, it's a lot of dead people.
It's just Goonies down there. All.
It's really changing like my perspective of Ireland, and I don't want to feel that way.
I'm sorry. What do you want me to do?
And
Sorry.
like Tom has said in the comments, it's also changing my perspective of some of you. Just saying. With that, we are now through round number 2, as you can see on the round tracker, 66,000.
Indeed.
And we now, Adam, you know what that means?
That means we, Chris, are going to round 3.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the beginning of round 3, where we reduce once again the time on the clock is reduced even more. It's going down to 45 seconds. So they are going to have to wrap up their stories in 45 seconds. And then at the end of this round, I don't know who's bluffing yet. The panelists, except for the bluff themselves, don't know who's bluffing. And the audience doesn't know who's bluffing. So we're going to find out and make some guesses. And together, we're going to determine who we think is this week's bluff.
Mm-hmm.
Gina, are you volunteering to confess as the bluff already? Or
No, I am volunteering. I had to say something because my lights keep going on and off for some reason. But you know what movie had lights go off and little kids telling stories? The Leprechaun.
Oh,
That's so funny. It's so bizarre.
Well, yeah.
the leprechaun.
Yeah. You should have a flashlight right here. Yeah.
Yeah. If we have time after this show, we'll tape a show called about seance, and we could do that with your lights going on.
Yes, exactly,
Um,
exactly.
But
Can we find out who
let's
that
see.
little body was?
We,
I'm sorry.
we can. So let's see. Gina's started one round. Adria started one round. Darren, we're going to have you start this last round. So you're going to come up to the center spot. You're going to get 45 seconds on the clock, and when you hear the boom, the floor is yours.
All right. So Dorothy Sayers didn't just make up the claim Guinness is good for you out of thin air. Doctors at the time claimed that beer, which was iron rich, had medicinal purposes. And until the 1950s, women in Irish hospitals were given Guinness after giving birth. Ironically, too much Guinness down at the pub. That might be the reason they were pregnant in the first place, but that's another story. But even to this day, some health professionals recommend the health benefits of Guinness. For example, Guinness may promote bone density given the plant hormone phytoestrogen that is found in the beer. And this hormone may be the key to building dense bones. In a study of 1,700 women, moderate beer drinkers had the highest bone density. So maybe Guinness is good for you.
Interesting. Maybe.
So drink up, ladies.
I mean,
Let's see, Adri. Do you think are you buying into Darren's assertion that Guinness? Some experts said that Guinness promotes bone density, or is it just density that it promotes?
I don't know, but I'm buying into it because I like the way it sounds. Having a beer after childbirth, I don't think anybody deserves it more than a woman who's just labored for like 36 hours. So
I could not agree more. I could not agree more with you.
so
yeah, right now I'm not really picking up on many red flags from Darren's story. So
Okay, all right,
it's
Gina. What do
looking
you
like
think?
Gina.
that's rude. I mean, you haven't even heard my last part yet.
What do you think about Darren's?
So I do have to sort of agree with Adri there because I'm reading the little side of the can, and if I had not had this can, your story would have been toast, Darren. But it's like it is a good source of nitrogen. It contains mead and something acid that's distinctively Guinness, and it does include a lot of like little facts of how good it is for your health on the side of the bottle, on the side of the can. So I never actually would have read that fine print had it not been for you, Darren. But because this show is all about blaming people, you're the liar.
Wait a second.
Gina, with that, we're going to have you stay up on the screen here. And we're going to have your third round, and let's hear your conclusion of your story.
Okay.
Where are we headed with the human bones and the small shoes found in the well?
Okay, excellent. So it was determined through some investigation and some more digging around there. They actually found more bones, and they found the bones of what probably amounted to a family back then who did live at the base of the mountain. And the theory is that they served a small, not a big castle, but like a small castle that was there that was for royalty coming through. So they would stop there, kind of like, feed their horses and do things like that. And so the family was McLavin. And the interesting thing about that is that leprechauns are based on shoe cobblers. So basically those little shoes that they would wear. So shoe cobblers back in the day had a little uniform that looked very similar to that. And they did have a pot of gold at the base of their store that people would put tips in on the way out. So the theory is that the McLavin family lived there, and they may have been some of the first leprechauns, and they were found in a well, at least one of them, their little child. Now it's sad. I don't know how they died, though. They don't have any more information on that, except for it was probably natural causes. They didn't find any like damage or force trauma or any of the things.
Okay.
That's cool, right?
Yes, we thank you for the extra buzzers there. Adrian, what did you think of Gina's very optimistic spin on how that body was found in the well?
Yeah, there's a lot of optimism there. I was distracted because it sounded like you were saying the McLovin family, and I'm just like really thrown off by that.
Oh, McLovin.
The McLovin family. But also, just the general idea that one of them passed away and they just threw them in the well. It's a little bit like,
Agreed. They think it was from erosion, like that. It like kind of made its way down because of this. Yeah. So I don't know.
that makes sense. Yeah.
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 Okay.
There it is.
I have no further
Darren,
questions.
There it is.
Darren,
No,
what do you, Darren,
you rest.
what do you think, Darren?
Very good. Okay.
The
They
presentation
started talking about McLovin, and I'm like, man, all I want is a McFlurry now.
I know.
Machine's broken then.
It probably
Always.
is.
It's
Probably
been
is
broken since
broken.
before COVID.
Oh,
That's sad.
we never got it back.
So, other than the flurry, no flurry of talks about Gina's story.
I'm just picturing now the whole family can't pay for the shoes. It's like, in the well, throw them in the well. It's awful.
It is
I
an
know,
awful
right?
image, awful picture.
Like an
I tell you
episode of
what,
Dexter.
we've heard episode of Dexter. We've heard from Darren's round 3. We've heard Gina's round 3 now. So that leaves Adri to finish her story. Adri, please come out to the center square there and tell us more about the Satan, Santa, Love Child, and Satanta, and what else going on with your mythological story here.
Okay, so the reason why Satanta, aka Cuckoo was such a big deal is because he and his mythology kind of proves that he was playing hurling thousands of years ago, and it's an ancient sport. Now, what's really cool is that the sport really hasn't changed much. Actually, the only thing that's really changed was in 2010, I believe. They now wear helmets. But besides that, they were absolutely no protection or anything like that. And it's a brutal sport. It's super violent. It's crazy. And it's a lot of fun to watch. It's like a mixture of lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, football. It's on a humongous field. So it's very, very similar to its original sport, which is really hard to say.
All right. Well, let's hear from Gina. What do you think, Gina, about that story?
I was just curious, if you don't mind. Like, I wasn't sure how the demigod kind of like played into the sport. Like, how does that relate?
Sure. So when McNassa walked by the young kid playing with a stick and a ball, that was hurling. He was playing hurling at that time. So he's kind of like the hurling. He is a demigod on his own, but he's a demigod who plays hurling.
Oh, so did they like worship him or something like that? Is that the deal?
I think so.
Oh, okay. No. I know we only do like, it's 3 minutes story, so I don't know how much he dug, but it's just interesting to me, and also I'm not sure. So that's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, Darren, what do you think, Darren?
No, I'm hung up on McNassa. I mean, come on. That's where you get a McGinnis and a.
No, Darren. They were the first people in space.
Yes,
that's right.
McNassa.
Yes. They're like hurled him into space.
And Laura says there's not even a first name; it's just McLovin.
I'm McLovin too.
McLovin was Madonna before Madonna.
His name was Bruce. I don't know. It just
could have been.
No, it was.
All right. Well, Adam, if you don't mind, would you throw up the round tracker 66,000? I just want to confirm that my handwritten one is matching. We have indeed come to the final portion of the show. We have heard all 3 rounds from all 3 historians, and it is now time to determine which one of them is this week's bluff. So before we get to the official unveiling, I'm going to ask each of them to give a vote, and let's hear what they have to say. So, Gina, who do you think is the bluff this week?
Oh, yes. And I'd also throw this also to the audience. We're on sort of a delay. So if you are thinking that any one of us might be bluffing, please type it in the side. That will not influence my vote, which is Adri. And I say that with confidence because I read the side of the bottle, and Guinness does give you nitrogen and some other things. So I feel like Adri came up with some badass names though. So I'll give her props for that, but I don't like her story. So she's the bluff.
Yeah,
they were good names indeed. I felt like if we'd given her another 2 minutes, we would have had Coco Lane, Cuckoo Lane, and Caca Lane.
Yes,
Darren,
exactly. And Coco de Chanel.
Coco de Chanel. Darren, who do you think? Darren, who do you think is bluffing?
My vote's for Adri too. I couldn't keep all the names straight, and Gina's story is essentially in Ireland there is a hole.
And dead people, my MO.
With dead people.
And they found bones. Adri, you have 2 accusations against you. Who are you going to accuse as the bluff?
Darren's story is just kind of just too believable. So I'm gonna vote for Gina
That's not a
and the
reason.
erosion. And the
You can vote for
erosion.
yourself.
I
Getting
I
unanimous.
choose Gina because of I just don't believe the erosion
because.
really just got me. Just because, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to join Adri and I think that Gina is bluffing. Just because
Get to vote.
I don't get the vote, but I get to give an opinion. It may be wrong.
Okay.
That'd
That'd be awesome if I was bluffing.
We do have a vote from the audience, and Laura is also going with Adri. So Adri is the overwhelming favorite to beat bluffing with Satanta, McNassa, Coco Lane, Kool-Lane, McLovin.
Buffering or bluffering?
Bluffering while bluffing. And then Tom is saying that Gina did a good bluff. So we have another vote for Gina as well. So wow, this is a close one. We have three votes for Gina, 3 votes for Adri. And Darren, if you are bluffing, you have pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. Let's hand it over. Let's hand it. Yeah, the Irish wool cap. Let's hand it back over to Adam and find out who really is tonight's bluff.
All right, because I have the keys of knowledge. I know, and I will now reveal it. Was your bluff tonight? Was it Gina? Or could it have been Adri? Or perhaps it was Darren? I am going to reveal to you now. The bluff this whole time has been Gina! Oh, don't. Well played, Gina. Mostly.
Mostly.
No, I mean, you got 2 accusations, so you can't say you pulled it off.
I had 3.
It's
You
okay,
got 3.
That's
You got
true.
3,
right?
yeah.
Audience included. We got comments.
And we
still.
we
Yeah,
did
there
get
it
one.
is.
We did get one vote in for. We had Tony Galante vote for the Guinness. And
He's voting for
I
Guinness
can't-
alone.
He's voting for Guinness. I think because he likes Guinness, or he's also saying that Darren's a bluff. He's voting for both things. That's right, right?
Yeah.
That's right. There was no hole,
He's saying
apparently.
there was no hole.
Yeah,
There's no
so
well.
there it
There's no
is.
well in
Yeah.
Ireland.
It
Well,
was too
thank you so
simple.
much. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a super fun show. Let's give it up for Adam, our tech extraordinaire. Thank you so much.
Thank
Adam.
you so much. Appreciate it.
Let's give a round of applause to our audience members. Thank you, Anthony and Tom and Laura.
Oh,
for
yeah. Thank you.
chiming
guys.
in.
Thank
and Laura
you.
being part of the comments. Thank you for the others watching. Thank you for those of you listening to us on the audio podcast. And then most importantly, let's thank our historians, Gina, Adri, and Darren. Welcome to the end of the show for you 3. And thank you so much. Thank
Happy
you so
St.
much for
Patrick's
joining
Day,
us.
every
Happy
Yes,
St. Patrick's Day
happy St.
indeed.
Patrick's Day.
And Adam, I'm going to hand it off to you.
All
See
right,
you next week.
let's take it out. Folks, this has been History Bluffs. We hope you learned some stuff. I know I did. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.